All right, 3.3 project delivery and constructability. Here's a little overview. Greg, I know you wanted a site plan. We're getting something like that going soon. Yeah, we'll get right into it, I guess. So, off, I ended up having to go down a level, which I didn't really want to do, just in terms of cost, and also being right next to the canal. I would imagine that it is not that easy to dig. I'm not sure, um, but it's relatively small, just pretty much like a half level of parking. Um, yeah, 10,100 square feet of parking, and then it's got little access to the circulation. So here is ground level G1. You can see you come in the parking at the left there, bottom left of the screen, and you can go straight up the ramp to level 2, or you go left, down and around to down below. Um, Obviously connected to the circulation, most likely going to be connected through to the parking garage of Lauren's building, adjacent to mine. Um, got the lobby and then commercial space. I'm yet to decide what the commercial space really is going to be. If it wants to be one commercial space or split it. So I'll have to figure that out. And then when you get up to G2, this is the last level of the podium, the concrete structure underneath. It houses a large mechanical room, and then that says lobby, but that's just open to lobby below. And one thing that I did consider is just security in terms of like public versus private access. Having the open air circulation definitely might pose a challenge in terms of security, especially being in the area we are, I guess. But you'll see in some of the taxonometric views that I built up, so there's really no access into the circulation unless you get above ground level. So L1, this is the start of our steel frame structure and start of housing residential units as well. This one's got a big terrace down below, just because we've got the space on top of the podium and might as well take advantage of it. So this is what a typical unit level is going to look like. I did end up having to add some kind of catwalk skyways across because I was dealing with some dead end corridors there. So just in order to kind of meet that code, I had to add some bridges, but I think that it actually ended up being a cool little twist. I'm going to try to take like a green kind of hanging vegetation vibe on them. Kind of inspired by one of my other precedent studies, the what was it? I'll get back to you on that one. And then level 5 is the roof level here. It's I wanted to have kind of a mix of indoor and outdoor. Also, just a good spot to be housing any kind of amenities that we were going to need. Um, this could be due to change around, how much of it's going to be indoor versus outdoor, whether it's going to be landscaped or patio or all of that yet to be figured out, but on the way soon. Here you can see my occupancy and means of egress matrix. I just split it up by level. Kind of just felt like that ended up making the most sense because you kind of needed to calculate things in terms of levels. Um, and then, yeah, kind of color coded to what we were seeing before. You'll see the square footages, the occupant load, and none of them ended up being over the minimum of 44 minimum width for egress and 48 for stairs. So we were good there. Oh, in terms of occupancy, we have R2 residential for the residential units, obviously. And then in code, it mentions if you had an assembly space that had an occupancy less than 50, it has actually counted as a business group classification. So that falls under the business group B 150 gross. And then mercantile group, I figured some kind of store or little shopping thingy for the commercial space. Utility and miscellaneous, I figured for parking and then mechanical as well. All pretty similar, either 200 or 150 gross. So it was pretty easy. Here's my means of egress isometric. Like I mentioned before, I did have to end up adding in those little catwalks across. So I'm gonna kind of play with that design a little bit more. But I definitely spent a lot of my time kind of massaging out the grid structure and getting the parking garage figured out and laid out well. So that ate up a lot of my design time, I guess. So hopefully I'll be able to find some more time soon. But you can see every floor from L1 or from L2 really up to L4 is the same. And then you've got L5 is the roof, and L1 is going to have that terrace. So a little bit different on the bottom and the top. They all access those circulation cores on the end in the middle, sandwiched between modernized buildings. Yeah, it's all open air, which I didn't. I found some stuff in the code about open air corridors, but I wasn't really sure, and I didn't have time to talk to Greg about it. So I went ahead and just counted them as corridors, but I'm not sure now that I'm thinking about it. Actually, there's always tomorrow. All right, construction type and fire rating. So obviously I mentioned podium structure before. Bottom 2.5, 3 levels, I guess, are going to be that type 1A, and then on top 2A steel structure. Just some building stats for you. We've got student unit. There's 8 of each type of unit in the building. 2 of each on each floor, residential. And you can see kind of their little stats there. 5,610 square feet terrace, and then 7,915 a roof deck. So a lot of good community space, even though the building really takes up the majority of the footprint of the site, which that's what I was trying to do. So I'll have to figure out landscaping in terms of that, and kind of dive a little bit more into drainage and such. But looking forward to it. So here's my accessible path to travel. I just realized I'm way over time, so I'm going to take it in a high gear. All the units should be fine with accessible paths to travel. The corridors are all 6 feet wide, so there's plenty of room. Yeah, like I mentioned before, didn't want those dead end corridors, so you can cut across if you need, or loop around. Like I mentioned, here's a ADA plan of the elderly unit in specific. So here you can see my building section. On the left, you can see you go all the way up from ground to parapet, but I also did just want to kind of blow it up a little bit bigger here to kind of get a better look. So here, I guess where I'm standing right now, I would be on G2, and down at the podium level, it's pretty simple. I just went with large 24 by 24 concrete columns, concrete walls, and then just for some added security for the parking, as well as kind of just spicing things up a little bit. I still wanted to have it be breathable and not just be a closed off garage. So I wanted to go with kind of a metal mesh material. And then as you see on the right, as you move up into the steel structure, it switches over and is a metal insulated panel, and you can see the measurements there in the breakdown. So on the exterior, you've got your 2 3/4 metal panel, and then there's going to be an 1.5 inch of kind of thermal air barrier, and then you've got 6 inches of the metal stud, and that's going to have the insulation in there as well. And then you've got a vapor retarder barrier, and then gypsum board on the inside of that 6 inch studs. So I also wanted to point out the balconies here. So the slab structure is 1 foot thick, but then it drops down to 8 and slopes out to deal with some of the drainage. I figured that was worth mentioning. I'm way over time, so this is it. I hope you enjoyed.